A bit more now on Christianity Today, calling for the removal of the president in that op-ed, and my discussion just now with Bob Vander Plaats. We have Danielle Moodie Mills, host of WokeAF and co-host of the Democracy-ish podcast, and Rick Tyler, MSNBC political analyst and Republican strategist, joining me. So, Danielle, we'll go to you first on your reaction to what we just heard there from Bob Vander Plaats, and also the question when I asked him if there was a Democrat that they could potentially get behind, if there's any scuttlebutt about that, people talking about a Democrat. He said, here's the deal. We've asked the top 7 Democrats right now to come and speak to us, and they've all declined. I mean, is that on the Democrats? Should they be reaching out to evangelicals too?
I mean, honestly, I don't see the point in reaching out to evangelicals because they only care about one thing, which is stopping a woman from being able to have a bodily autonomy. That's what they care about. They don't care that the president of the United States is a racist. They don't care that he's a xenophobe. They don't care about any of the things that he has said about grabbing women. They care none of that. The only thing that they are focused on is making sure that Roe v. Wade is reversed. So there is no real reason for a Democrat who is pro-choice to sit down with evangelicals to talk about anything. And, you know, the question that you asked, Alex, with regard to is there anything that the president could do that he would lose support of evangelicals from, and there is nothing. There is nothing that he could do, frankly, and obviously, that they would then turn their backs on him. As long as they can reverse Roe v. Wade, they're okay.
Rick, I know that Vander Plaats originally backed Ted Cruz, I think it was, in the 2016 election. I know you worked on Cruz's campaign, so do you know him, and what do you make of his comments?
I've known Bob Vander Plaats for over 10 years. I've traveled to Iowa many times. In fact, I campaigned with Bob Vander Plaats. We rode in his old pickup truck from one end of Iowa to the other. So I know him very well. He's an honorable man. He's an honest man. But I do think that he should be careful. And I'm glad to hear that Bob says he calls out the president when the president misbehaves. Unfortunately, the rest of us don't hear that. What we hear, what I'll call it the political evangelical movement, because the evangelicals are a very large group, and many of them are lapsed evangelicals the same way you have lapsed Catholics, and many of them vote for Donald Trump, and I'm not sure they're evangelicals. But I have to disagree a little bit. It's always worth talking, and I've been to a lot of Bob's events, and they do listen, and they are very respectful, and they want to hear other points of view. They may not agree with them, but there's a lot of things that even the pro-life movement and the or let me just be respectful, the pro-choice movement together can do more to reduce the number of abortions. And I don't know anybody who wants more abortions. Everybody wants less abortions. So if that's the goal of both sides, there's a lot of common ground there. There's a lot of common ground on a lot of issues, and we can't be, and Bob described them as ditches, but we can't be on both sides. But you know, we can't just take a side. We have to, the whole American, and I'll tell you, we're on the precipice here. The whole American experiment is based on one word, and it's compromise. And if you're not willing to compromise, I'm not talking about compromising principles. I'm saying let's find out what we agree on, and let's work toward together on those issues and see what we can get.
Yeah. Let me ask you about the campaign rally on Wednesday when the president said this about the late Congressman Joh Dingell. For anyone who's not heard it, here it is, everybody.
Debbie Dingell, that's a real beauty. So she calls me up like 8 months ago. Her husband was there a long time. But I didn't give him the B treatment. I didn't give him the C or the D. I could have. Nobody would have, you know. I gave the A+ treatment. She calls me up. It's the nicest thing that's ever happened. Thank you so much. John would be so thrilled. He's looking down. He'd be so thrilled. Thank you so much, sir. I said, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Maybe he's looking up. I don't know.
I mean, Danielle, when it comes to this president, is this the bottom for his supporters, do you think? I mean, we heard all the laughter there, which was just, I don't even know how to categorize that. But is this a bottom point here?
No, they continue. It's bottomless, Alex. Like, there is no bottom for them. He is talking ill of a man that served his country, who just recently passed. This is Debbie Dingell's first Christmas without her husband. And this is what the president of the United States is doing at a rally. And you hear the people laughing. It really hurts my heart, honestly, to think that this is where the Republicans Republican Party is, and this is what they're proud of. And frankly, this is the cross that they're willing to die on with this president who is clearly immoral and just has no dignity whatsoever and no respect for anyone.
And you hear, Rick, the president talking like that, calling Debbie Dingell a real beauty. I mean, hearing the audience laugh, why is the allegiance to this president so strong? Or, to borrow Congressman Van Drew of New Jersey's words, undying loyalty. Why so strong?
It's really sort of unimaginable. I mean, that conversation would have been held closely and in confidence and in confidential, and the idea that he would go on national television in a rally and describe that conversation and then the contents of what he just said, I've just run out of words to describe the president. I've said them all and they seem meaningless now. Despicable, disgusting, classless. It's all of those things.
Do you think, Rick, that some Republicans were angry about those comments and they should be angry about them?
They should be angry. They should be outraged about them. But look, let's separate this out for a bit, because that behavior is immoral, it's disgusting, and it's not worthy of a leader. It's not impeachable. But what President Trump did do was impeachable, and he's been impeached for it. And so we can say, like Bob said, we can have choices, but this choice is a bad choice, and I hope we can recover from it.
All right, guys, listen, Nick's telling me in my ear we got to go. We're late, but it was a good conversation. Danielle and Rick, thank you so much, and happy holidays, guys.
Thanks,
Happy holidays.